Yo, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Mostly Low Budget Movie Reviews. I am your host, Clarence. Thank you for tuning in. In today's episode, I have another Netflix original that just dropped today. It's another comedy starring Kevin Hart and Mark Wahlberg, aka Don't Call Me Marky Mark or You're Fired. True story. He really did that to someone on set. But anyway, it's called Me Time. Now, this is the third Netflix original Kevin Hart has dropped in the last 2 years, starting out with Fatherhood, which was actually pretty good. If you haven't seen that one, check it out. Then earlier this year, there was The Man from Toronto, which had some things to say, but really didn't get all the way there on the comedy side of things for me. So I couldn't really give that one an endorsement. It was, pretty mediocre. And here we are again with another buddy comedy. And we're really trending in the wrong way. So does he turn things around here? Well, what is this one about? And this won't take too long because it's really pretty basic, not a whole lot to the plot. We open up with Sonny, which is Hart's character, celebrating his best friend's birthday. Huck, Wahlberg's character. We get this 15-year time jump. Huck is still single, living the life, and Sonny is married with a couple of kids. Now, his wife is really successful, architect, and he's a stay-at-home dad, and he has really embraced that role. Fast forward, he feels like he is in a rut, and his wife agrees, and she also has her own thing of not knowing as much about the kids since she works all the time. Now, they planned this family vacation, but his wife thinks that maybe she should just take the kids alone so she can reconnect, and he can, just go off and do his own thing and get a little me time, hence, the title. So at first he starts trying to do his own thing, and it really isn't working out, so he ultimately decides to go celebrate his best friend's birthday, and, that's what, they used to do back in the day, and that's where I will stop. From there, the party doesn't go as planned, and they both end up doing some self-reflection about their lives, basically. So what did the pros think? Well, they came in at a 11% on about 18 reviews, with the audience at a 35% on less than 50 reviews on the Rotten scale, which is pretty consistent with what I expected. But what did I think? Well, let me get to the positives. It's a great cast. I mean, they always put great cast together with these things. Can't help but like everybody in here. Comedies usually always have like one character that you don't like or one that gets on your nerves, but this one didn't have that. I pretty much was cool with everybody. Although I do have to point out the performances of Kevin's children in this. And just coming off of Beast, where the children were like really good, these kids were like equally as bad. I mean, these kids might as well have been reading off the page of the script. But anyway, everyone else was pretty decent to good. Now, this is a personal thing for me. One thing I will give Kevin about all his recent movies and things he's done, he always gives positive images of black people in movies. There's no over-the-top stereotypes and racial things, a bunch of, cursing and ghetto stuff. It's always showing black people in a positive light. I mean, they're just regular people, just working, doing their jobs. They have good to decent jobs, and they're just doing their thing. I like him showing that other side, which is crazy that we still have to say things like that in 2022. But that's a topic for another day. He also has a decent message about accepting who you are and seeing the value in that. Oftentimes people try to make you feel like you're less than because of, their standard or whatever standard society has out there. He's a stay-at-home father, taking care of his children and doing volunteer work, at their school, which is just as important, if not more than important, than his wife's colleagues and, what they're doing in their big business world. I mean, molding the minds of young children to be productive adults and all of that good stuff, that's, to me, is just as, if not more important. However, the rest of the story is where my negatives start. The framework of the story and everything and the message, all that's fine. but the rest is just pretty thin. There's really not a lot here, not a lot to go with. There is no real ultimate conflict to resolve, so they kind of force one in there. And it didn't work for me because it felt really out of character for the people involved. I mean, it's okay not to have some kind of big thing to start the third act. You don't have to have this big event, to resolve. I remember this movie called The Wrong Missy, I think it was called. And it was a comedy romance. It wasn't very good. But what I do remember is the love story part of that was realistic. They didn't do this whole big grandiose thing where, he did this bad thing, he had to get her back. It just was, there was a misunderstanding, and he went and talked to her about it, and the movie ended. And I was like, okay, cool. We didn't have to go through this whole thing. That's what they should have done here. Just had like a realistic playing out of the story, and everything would have been good. And then they introduced certain ideas in the story that didn't go anywhere. Like I mentioned that the wife felt the need to reconnect with her kids and stuff, but they just kind of mentioned that and threw that in there. That really didn't go anywhere. They just, for whatever reason, they just threw that in there. If they weren't going to explore it, I don't even know why they mentioned it in the first place. Now, the major issue with this is the comedy. I mean, this is a comedy, or it's supposed to be, and it just feels really dated, everything in this. It's just a bunch of half-thought-out ideas kind of just strung together. Much of it feels out of place. I mean, are we still doing fart jokes, Kevin? I mean, you had this whole setup for a fart joke. I mean, and it wasn't funny. And the joke that was done was something that's been done a million times in movies. It just wasn't necessary here. This type of story I felt required a little bit more finesse because it had a message and they were going somewhere with it. I mean, you can still be funny and have a message in your movie. It's okay. We don't have to resort to the sophomoric things they did here. Honestly, I felt like Kevin phoned this one in. Same old slapstick stuff from him that he's known for. I think I laughed out loud maybe 4 times. And in a comedy that's over 90 minutes long, I'm expecting more laughs per minute than that. But I don't want to beat this one up too much. Did I enjoy it? That's the bottom line, right? I got to say no. I'm going to put this one right at a 40% on the Rotten scale. Great cast with some great performances, except for those kids. They were trash. I like the positive images and the overall message of the movie. However, this fails at what it's ultimately supposed to be, and that's funny. It's just not funny. I mean, it's all jokes you've seen before and done much better in other movies. And it's sad because Kevin is really talented, and I'm not trying to get in the way of him getting his bag. I mean, I know he's got to make his money and he's building his empire, but I think he should focus a little bit more on the quality instead of just pumping out these disposable buddy flicks that are all the same. They just all run together. I mean, personally, I think he's so much better than this, and I mentioned this when I did the review of The Man from Toronto. I really think he might want to explore some of his more dramatic acting chops because he was, I think if he went more down that path and mixed it up a little bit, then maybe came back to the comedy or did maybe one of those dramedy type things, that would fit more of the lane that he's in right now as far as, making movies. But again, that's just my humble opinion. He's super successful doing what he does. Keep doing you, brother. I'm just saying, if somehow you happen to hear this, it's not ripping you. I'm just saying, you're very talented. I just wish that you wouldn't just keep pumping out these buddy flicks that just aren't that funny to me. With that being said, I'm going to close it out right here. If this is your first time, don't make it your last. This has been a Podbean production, mostly low-budget movie reviews with Clarence, up on all streaming platforms. This is the first movie of the weekend. I do plan on doing at least one more with maybe a surprise guest. I'm teasing that. I don't know if that'll work out. It might work out. It might not. Because I am on the road traveling a little bit. So we'll see how that works out. But anyway, thank you again for support. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.